Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Head in the Cloud Show. My name is Michael Gibbs, and I am here with Alonzo Coleman as well as Christopher Johnson. And tonight we're going to have a really great, fun time talking about personal responsibility.
Yes.
Something that is so critical to your career, to your future, to your personal relationships, and to your long-term success. And it's something I'm pretty passionate about. But, it's us. I'm sure we'll get involved in some form of tech career coaching. We'll probably talk about some emotional intelligence in tech. What we're talking about tonight is some critical tech career success factors. We'll be talking a little bit about tech career management. And this is all about leadership skills in tech. At least I'll cover the leadership skills. And we're going to get multiple different sections about it from my team. We're going to talk about what is personal responsibility, why it matters. And this is, training for your professional development. This is, if you're a cloud architect, critical training. If you're a cloud engineer, pretty good training for you if you want to build your cloud engineering career as well. And if you're trying to advance your technology career, this, along with some soft skills training, is really critical components to your tech career development plan. Because these are traits of highly successful people, and we want you all successful, cloud hired, cloud promoted, and everything else. So before we begin, let's talk about some fun and free things we have going on for you. On Thursday, we are going to have a very special How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. It's going to be a different webinar than we normally do. We think you're going to have a really great time, and you're going to learn so much. So join us on our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. It's going to be a great time, so please join us. Register. The link is in the chat box as well as the description below. Right now, I'm going to tell you right now, we've got a 30% discount on everything. We're still celebrating my birthday. What a great birthday present for me. Did Chris and Alonzo.
All right, so I guess this is the point where I tell you that we got a surprise for. I'm just kidding.
You scared me. You guys had me in tears all week last week watching some of these videos.
I don't know if Mike can take anymore.
Surprise!
I really don't. I got to see so many wonderful people, and it was such an honor.
Right.
So we have my 30% birthday discount as long as we can, at least for a little while longer. I don't know when Chris and the team are going to remove it. I don't really get involved in pricing whatsoever. I just develop a strategy and teach classes and get people hired. That's all I really want to do in life. I'm kind of a specialist, always been a specialist. I know exactly what I know how to do, and then find really smart people to do the rest of everything, because I'm good at like a few things in life: medicine, networking, cloud, and getting people hired. And that's it. Literally speaking, outside of that, I don't know anything about anything. And
I gotta say, I really enjoy like surprising you.
That was fun, and it wasn't easy, was it, Chris?
Not at all. Do you know how long I slept after we finished on Tuesday? Like, man, the next day, I woke up at like probably 9:55 for our 10 o'clock. And then I went and took my nap afterwards.
We needed a lot of power nap.
It was very exhausting, but it was definitely worth it.
And I know it wasn't easy, and Chris knows me. I'm like 1,000% about integrity and trust. So Chris knew to say every time I asked about something that felt funny, Mike, just trust me, just don't ask. And he knew that I would respect that because I trust him enough, but he knew that if he didn't give me something like that, he'd be like, okay, what's going on? Where is this? Why do I need to be worried?
Yeah, that Mike's mind will start running.
Yeah, I can only tell you so many times, just show up. It's like that takes a lot of. If you don't know Mike, for Mike just to have faith and just not worry about what's being planned. Wow, I can't imagine what it was like for you, Mike, to not have any clue what we were doing.
No idea. Because it's not like me not to have a primary plan, a secondary plan, a tertiary plan, and then plan for the unknown and all the unknowable variables along the way.
You want to know the funny part? Although you didn't have a plan or a backup plan or a backup plan, we had backup plans.
Plenty of them.
And in case you want to know why I had to rotate people in and out on those shows, it's because I had backups.
Yeah.
I had backups just in case something didn't work. We're like, for example, Yvonne was supposed to be there, but he got caught up with work. but you would have never known it.
Yeah.
We had backups.
I would have loved to have seen Yvonne, but you know what? He left me a message, and wow, Yvonne's such a great kid, and it was just such a special time. I got to see from so many people, and Daniel has cats, and not only did Daniel get a great job, but he now has 2 cats, and I'm extra proud of him for that too.
And a brand new apartment.
And
a brand new
place.
apartment, yeah.
All right, so moving on from our 30% discount code birthday, I know you got some more stuff to let people know about.
Yeah, so don't miss this Thursday's webinar. And if you're trying to build your career, I strongly recommend you take advantage of this 30% discount. And guess what? We're going to have a Google book for the Google Professional Cloud Architect, and it's going to be completely free. So pre-register for it now. It should be coming out soon. The link is in the chat box. There's an editing team that's working on it right now. They're doing an extremely great job, and I'm super excited all about it. So there's that. And we're going to have our LinkedIn and resume workshop. My average student has one problem: telling all the recruiters that they're still interested in forming a relationship, but they're not ready to be hired yet. Because the second we do our almost monthly resume workshop in class, our students are getting bombarded by recruiters. It's nonstop. And if you want to be like our students and have the world come to you, attend our LinkedIn and resume workshop for our workshop.
Yeah, I had a unique phone call on Friday of last week where we had somebody called me and they said, yeah, so I want to thank you. I got cloud hired. And I had to ask. I said, so you want to share do you want to share the compensation with me? And he's like, oh yeah, I got 20% more than what they said the max for the position was. And I was like, oh really? You got 20% more than the max?
20% more than the max.
Good job.
And then we think about the average of how much someone can make, and you slap on 20% more than that. Very lucrative. Definitely something to take advantage of with 30% discount while it lasts. So we love anyone to come in and get hired.
And we want you to, and there's not really such a ceiling to these things. So the ceiling is based upon the impact you make to the organization. And I saw somebody make a post yesterday that said, I've been working here for a while and somebody else just got here and they're getting paid more. And we're doing the same job. They might not have been doing the same job. That new person may have had different soft skills, executive presence, communication skills, and could have earned double to do the same job because of those other factors, which to the employer are really valuable.
But the thing to think about. So they and he didn't ask what the range was. They volunteered the range during their interview process, and without even showing any results, because he doesn't work for them. In an interview process, he was able to show enough to where they said, okay, we've got to go above our budget. So
they wanted them that bad.
Right.
Or
and that's not the only one. That's just the most recent example we've got.
Yeah, and for people that want to do certifications just to do them, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to remove them from your resume later because they're actually going to hurt you in certain careers. So really focus on what you want to do, because the employers want someone that can go in there and light up a room and really influence customers to make a difference. They don't care about your certifications. They care about your ability to do the job. We had Arun here last week. We had to remove multiple things off of his. So before we begin, let's give us a hashtag. Let's talk about today. Give us a hashtag. What is personal responsibility? And we're going to have a lot of fun with that topic tonight because it's so critical.
I got another hashtag ready for later already. So hashtag, what is personal response? RESPON.
Something like that.
I thought you were about to go into Aretha Franklin's.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking it was a responsibility or respect. It sounded like an Aretha Franklin song.
All right, is that spelled right? What is personal responsibility?
Yeah. I had to break down the syllables as well. So
yeah,
I wouldn't know how to spell it.
Wow. All right. Now that we're back to our regularly scheduled programming, I guess is how we now get back into our groove. I thought we definitely thought that personal responsibility was a good one. And there was actually something that happened last week or the week before where I said, I sent Alonzo a text message, and I wish I could remember what it was. I said we need to do a talk about personal responsibility.
Yeah.
But I have no clue why I sent him that message. Something happened.
I gotta pull it now. Find it.
Yeah.
But there's nothing around the text message. Like it was something that we were watching in real time happen. And I sent you a text message, and I just can't remember what it was.
Okay. Anyway. Now I'm going to be thinking about it all night now.
So
I guess we're going to have a nice discussion, and I'm going to be hugging my cat. My cat was out all last night. I couldn't find her. This morning she came in. She literally sat on my lap all day, played with me. So, yeah, as soon as we're done, I'm going to bring my cat Cindy. She's been extra warm and loving today.
That means she's preparing you for something.
Yeah, that means she's planning on doing something that's going to upset me. So I'm going to take advantage of all the love while I can get it.
Yeah, you might have a four-legged dead gift in your hand.
I'm sure I probably do.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess we'll start with you, Mike. So while you're giving us all the hashtag what is responsibility, I only see 32 likes.
Come on, guys.
I'm guessing if I've only seen 32 likes, that means you also probably haven't hit the subscribe button. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button.
Please do so. And I'm seeing Dwight Jarnes and Mark Simpson, what is personal responsibility? And Tracy May, good to see you. What is personal responsibility? Ken Sherman, what is personal responsibility? You know what? You're probably the only one here that could actually spell that correctly. Because we know I don't know how to spell, and we know my video editor, English is not her primary language. So when you see spelling stuff, chances are. Mustafa, what is personal responsibility? Sing, what is personal responsibility? And hopefully we spelled it correctly, because we know I won't know how to.
Now you got me second guessing. Already, yes. Response.
Sing it or read it.
Okay, it is spelled correctly. All right. Don't do that to me. I have a hard enough time. Oh, and by the way, for all those people that always ask, what am I drinking? Somebody actually watches enough that they pointed out that I drink Coke Zero sometimes and Diet Coke another time. Yep. So I drink Diet Coke at my office space because all they have was Diet Coke. Until now I got Coke Zero at the workspace. So now I'm going doubling Coke Zero and Diet Coke.
All right. Well, can we take 3 minutes to bask in my happiness? I won't mention the name, but we've got someone that starts on September 12th with AWS.
Nice.
As a cloud architect.
Where did that come in?
Just got a Slack message about 3 seconds ago.
Oh, hold on. Let me go check my Slack. I turned off my notifications. Okay, I don't have anything. Okay. Well, at least I let somebody know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what I'll do is, because a lot of times we only find out on LinkedIn. Every once in a while, it's like we go to LinkedIn and it's like, hey, or somebody tags us on LinkedIn. Woo, thank you so much, Mike. I just got hired. I'm like, okay.
Hashtag cloud hired. There we go.
So what I'll do is just for both of you, just I'll pop the thing inside of the typical text message that I send you guys every night when we get a new cloud hired. See you guys.
I love that.
I want to see that. I'm looking right now.
I love when we get a cloud hired.
Yeah, we get one of these messages every night, and it's our happy day.
Oh, this guy. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's actually a senior solution architect role that he got. I'm 99% sure.
Oh, this is great.
Wow.
You know, I think about the growing number of alumni.
I like that last line. I'll be more than happy to share my experience. Good. I need to reach out to him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you think about the growing number of alumni that we have, but I think about the percentage of those who haven't shared it with us, and it's probably just as long.
It still blows my mind how many people, and I don't blame them. I mean, you get caught up in life, and you get a job, and you just hit the ground running. And but yeah. So all right, let's get a hashtag cloud hired for this.
Yes.
I'm guessing after the 12th we can say it.
After the 12th, we will say his name.
That's going to be awesome.
Oh, all right.
That made my evening. I mean, we got some yesterday, but now that made my evening. I'm all kinds of excited.
I like Mr. Pitt's comment here. Celebrate others until you can celebrate yourself.
Exactly.
I like that.
Although I will change that. Celebrate others while you celebrate yourself.
Yeah. That's a nice amendment. I'll take both.
Yeah,
I'll take both because we've got to celebrate ourselves during our journey, I was watching this movie, The Peaceful Warrior, and a movie I love. And as they're climbing up a mountain, and he gets to the top of the mountain, he gets a rock, and he says, well, this is why I climbed up here. And he said, no, until you looked at this rock, you had fun on the entire journey. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy the journey. Oh, I want to share with y'all. So and I may have already told y'all this, but I want to share with everybody because I found it very intriguing. If any of y'all watched the episode several weeks back where my dad was on there, and my dad is a business person and a professor. He has no idea about technology. He has no idea about cloud. He doesn't understand any of the stuff. And if he's got a problem and it gets fixed and somebody says, do you want me to tell you how I fixed it? He's like, no, I don't care. Is it fixed? But I was trying to explain to him what cloud computing is, like how it works. And I was using a really simple explanation of just imagine storage lockers or rental storage units. You have thousands of people, instead of storing their stuff in their house, they store it all in one space that takes up maybe one block instead of all their houses. And he's like, okay, all right, that makes sense. And instead of doing it at your place and taking up your space and making your place junky, you can free up your resources and put it somewhere else. And I'm like, yes. And then his immediately next question was, so would you want to store your stuff in different locations? Would you want to use a different storage company to and I'm like, multi-cloud, yes. Use different
single point of failure.
So I thought that was great. I don't know how, but I do know how, because he was thinking from a business mindset.
Yeah.
Security, continuity, backup. That's what he was thinking, because I asked him where why he thought that, and he's like, well, I was thinking about backup in case I lose my stuff. And I thought that was great, Mike. I thought that was great. I know I called you immediately, Mike.
You did, I remember. Because I was getting a Thai massage, but I was still and here's the thing. I can't imagine walking to any CEO's office and say, here, put all your eggs in this one basket.
Right.
It's going to be okay. They're fully diversified. Trust them. Buy a single mutual fund and trust me, it's diversified. They'd laugh at me. I mean,
you think about the diversification.
I could say it if I wanted to.
Right. You got the diversification of team members, of experience, of SME capabilities. Nobody's going to trust just one cloud architect. You need a team of them to make sure everything is solutioned properly.
It is. I can't even see it, but I wouldn't even suggest it. I'd be laughed out of a room. I'd be trying to laugh the whole time because I'd feel so stupid trying to talk about a single cloud solution. I feel like I was hurting people. Like, here you go. Yeah. Don't use business continuity planning. Don't have backup food and water just in case there's a hurricane, even though it's hurricane season in Florida. Don't have batteries. Really, Florida Power and Light's never going to have a power outage. Trust them. Seriously. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I thought that was great. I wanted to share that.
That was awesome.
With the wider community. But that's how business people think. The simplicity of it. I broke it down to something that he could understand, and he was immediately able to engage he was able to return my volley, so to speak. He's like, okay, so would I want to do this? If I had tried another way of explaining it, he wouldn't have been engaged in the conversation.
You broke it down in business, just like we teach. Yeah,
but that's the key. Your father was a CEO of a business for a while, so he thinks like a CEO. When he wasn't doing that, he was teaching again. So he's thinking like a CEO. We CEOs don't care about the tech. I mean,
if I had tried to explain to him virtual machines and data centers and EC2 storage, he'd have zoned out and got on his phone and just appeased me.
Gave you a cookie jar,
right? And he would have only appeased me because he has to, because I'm his son. And otherwise, my mom would get mad at him. All right, so let's move on to the topic of discussion, Mike. I'm going to put you back front and center on the screen, so that we can talk about what is personal responsibility.
True.
So
I'm going to take it from the leadership perspective. What is personal responsibility for the leaders that are here? Because guess what? All of you cloud architects, you're all leaders. Cloud engineers, you want to be management, you're all leaders. Guess what? All of you are still leaders, even if you don't know it yet. And you can all be a leader, work a leader, and act like a leader. So let's talk about that. The first thing is, when you're the leader, when your team wins, you got to share the credit with them. And there's a difference between good leaders and bad leaders. I've had a lot of wins, and I've never won alone. I've always had a team. When the team wins and my manager said, Mike, you did a good job, I said, no, Joey did a good job. Tom did a good job. Dave did a good job. This one did a good job. I don't talk about doing a good job. And you know what happens? I still get the credit, and they get credit too. They get promoted. They rise. They trust me more. They like me more. I help them get to their goals. And not only are they willing to help me again, they're now in a better position to help you in the future because they now have bigger positions. Now they can have other people working for them. And before you know it, your network is huge. So never take the win. Share the win. I know these people that want to make it like it's up to them. No. It's a team thing. So going with that means when somebody fails, guess who owns it? The leader owns it. When somebody messes up, I own it. Even if I didn't make the mistake, it's still my fault. The leader is responsible. Chris does something goofy. Somebody can complain to me. And it's not Chris that made the mistake. It's me. It's my company. So no matter what, when it comes down to it, and Chris doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but you get the point. The point is the leader has to own it. The leader's responsible for it. You're responsible for things go well, but responsible for things when don't go well. And you got to be willing to take it. If you're the leader, don't be a leader unless you're willing to take the failure and own the failure. I'm going to tell you right now, you can't blame anybody for your failure. A lot of times there's failures. When it comes to personal responsibility, we have to own it ourselves. I will tell you the biggest thing that I've seen the difference between successful people and those that are not successful is successful people, and they fail. They find out why they failed. They take their own responsibility and they get better and they win next time. People that are not successful do this. It's not my fault. I'm too old. I'm too young. This person didn't like me because my shirt was green. This person didn't like me because the neighborhood's bad. This person didn't like me because. There's something my grandmother would call bubamaitis, which is when you always find out something silly and a ridiculous obstacle and a ridiculous reason, a ridiculous problem. Own your wins, own your losses. If you don't win at something that you're trying, it's not anybody else's fault. It's just not. And even things that are somebody else's fault, you still have something in there. There's always a responsibility. When you drive down the road and somebody's backing up into you, if you're more present, maybe you can avoid it, even if it's their fault. So no matter what, there's no blame-free anything. When you win, you win. When you lose, lose. Find out why you lost, how you lost, be honest about why you lost, and get better and don't lose again. I hate losing. I don't like to lose.
Yeah.
So that's just me. It's not something I like. I didn't grow up in the time where people were given participation trophies just for playing. You either won or you lost, and it was on you. So fight for you. Fight for the team. Authenticity. Let's face it, with personal responsibility, your name is all you got. It's all you got. You lie to somebody, trust is gone. It can take years to develop and seconds to lose. Let's be honest. It doesn't have to always work out your way. When my wife gets home and there's an absolute disaster in the house because I did something stupid and playing with the cat, tossing a ball to the cat, I knocked over her favorite vase. I'm not going to lie about it and say the cat did it. I'm going to say I was playing with the cat. I threw the ball and knocked it over. And she's going to say, let's just say the cat did it. And then it becomes a joke. If I say, Cindy knocked your favorite thing over, and she finds out that it wasn't Cindy, what do you think my relationship's going to be like? I promise you it's not going to be so good. I'm not going to want that doghouse for the next 25 to 30 years. Better just be honest. Now, when it comes to this isn't exactly a personal responsibility thing, but I think it's pretty important in a leadership perspective. It's recovering traits of a successful leader. Realize this as a leader, you're not the best at the job. And what I mean by this is, As the leader, your goal is to lead, to bring out the best in others, to make sure your team does the best. I don't know how to do operations. Chris does. I don't know how to do operations. It's not my strength. Could I fake it for a little while? Sure, I faked it in the past. But I can't do it as good as Chris. That's why Chris is doing operations and not me. He has to have the freedom to be Chris. I can't make graphics like Alonzo or come up with creativity things with Alonzo. Alonzo needs the freedom to do it. So you can't micromanage people. You got to find the people, put them in the right place. And when they win, celebrate their wins. When they're not winning, figure out a way to make them better so they can win next time. But the point is, realize we can't guide our people that work for us other than things in leadership. In most cases, the manager won't have the skills of the people on their team. They can't, because the manager is focused on managing and being a better manager. And the people on the team are focused on doing their job, and they're not the same jobs. And you can't be good at everybody else's job. If you try, I promise you, you're going to fail at everything. I've had managers try to tell people how to do their jobs. Here's who they had left. The good people all walked out as fast as they could. The people that were left were the worst. And they were so bad that the manager was busy trying to tell them how to do their job that they didn't even know how to do it in the first place. And now you got everybody being in disaster until the manager gets fired and the whole team gets fired and then they get a new team. So go out there. Realize as a manager, you can't do everybody's job. You just can't. Don't even try. Find people that are better than you, ideally smarter than you, think differently than you, come from a different background than you, someone that can make you better. So my things that I'm going to talk about, when you win, the team wins. Own it. When there's a loss, you own it, that you take the responsibility as a leader. Who's responsible? Always the leader. Be authentic with your people. Be authentic with your customer. Be honest and follow through. And give people the freedom to be great. Hire people that have different strengths than you and get them to their goals. They'd be the things that I would talk about from a leadership perspective and responsibility. One or two more things. Always do what you say you're going to do. Always, always, always. And always communicate. Always communicate. If somebody's not doing what you need them to, tell them. How else are they going to know? They might think they're doing the greatest thing in the world. You might think they're not. Go fix it. Communicate, communicate, communicate. So there's that. So, Chris, let's bring it to you and then bring it to Alonzo after you.
All right. Sorry, I decided to put myself on the big screen there. Normally I don't like to be on the big screen, but Mike took it from the position of a leader, but coming into the show, I decided to do some research into the topic of personal responsibility beyond what I already know about personal responsibility. And so I just want to take the opportunity to share some of what I've found with you. Most of what I have is going to be for the individual, regardless of if they're a leader or if they're a subordinate, a superior, whatever they may be. So the first thing that I want to share is from an article on Indeed, and I'm going to read verbatim what I found. If you've watched this long enough, you know that I'm a data guy. I like to go out and find data points, whether it's actual numerical data or if it's hard. Oh, my lights are about to go off. Or if it's hard quotes and hard articles like what I found today. All right, there we go. Contrary to what people in my office think, I do not like to work in a cave. Although when people come in during the morning, they're like, "Why are you sitting in the dark?" And it's like, "Because I've just been sitting here long enough working." but I can't do that when I'm on the show. So according to this article from Indeed, they say an individual who takes responsibility for their actions in the workplace does not lie or try to avoid the consequences when something at work goes wrong. Those who try to avoid personal responsibility are not only acting in a way that is usually unethical for the company, but are also pushing the burden of responsibility onto another individual. So I found that I liked that. That obviously that was in a much larger article, but I liked that because when we talk about personal responsibility, and for any of you that have watched our shows before, this might sound a lot like our accountability episode. So just throwing that out there. There's a reason that we talk about these things. They are keys to success. So, but anyway, I thought that was interesting because when we talk about personal responsibility, we usually think about ourselves. But if we don't practice personal responsibility, if we don't own up for mistakes, or another example of personal responsibility is knowing my limitations. That's personal responsibility. If I don't know my limitations, I'm going to take on too much. And who's that going to affect? Not me. Mm-hmm. That's going to affect everybody else out there. That's going to affect my teammates. That's going to affect the people underneath me. That's going to affect my superiors. That's going to affect my clients and my customers. So I like this article that they're pushing the burden onto another individual when you don't practice personal responsibility. So I like that because we don't normally, because of the word personal is in it, we usually don't think about it affecting other people. But that is a big aspect. That is a big aspect of how this affects you in your career and in your life and in everything that you touch. It's not just you that it affects. It affects everybody around you. So another one that I found, and this comes from the Niagara Institute, which is like a think tank. That's what they're called. It's like one of the think tank somewhere up in New York, I believe. And they say taking responsibility for your actions requires the realization that you play a part in every situation or experience, and therefore you have some degree of responsibility over the outcome and the consequences. So we don't operate in a vacuum. That just it just reinforces the previous quote that I found, was that we're not operating in a vacuum. You or I play a part in a bigger picture. And if we're not practicing personal responsibility, and I got a long list of examples of personal responsibility. Remember, I'm a data guy, so I'm going to get to this. but again, going back to my idea that I wanted to make sure we're thinking outside of ourselves. We're thinking outside of how it affects me. If I'm not being accountable or responsible, it affects more than just me, because again, as I say here, taking responsibility for your actions requires the realization that you play a part in every situation or experience. So no matter how small my piece is or how big my piece is, I play a part in it. And if I don't live up to what the expectations are, then I have to be accountable. I have to have some personal responsibility to that. So I found those two quotes very, very interesting. The next thing that I found was from Berkeley, UC Berkeley. It was from an article that they wrote in a publication. And it's not a research paper in itself. It's it's an amalgamation of multiple research projects that they were providing. They're providing the I guess you could say the takeaways from these different research projects. That lo and behold, they all found the same thing. No matter when or where the research project was done, whether it was personal, if it was individual relationships with husbands and wives, children and parents, friends and colleagues, or coworkers, they all found these same things. And there's several things that they pointed out. And if we want, Mike, I when we update the description, I'll put the link to all these in here because
Great.
I think they're important.
Love that.
But I'm not going to read the exact quote because again, it's Berkeley, so they get really wordy. So, but at the end of the day, what it boils down to is that what they found is that if someone believes that they can change, if they can change their behavior, if they can change the way that they think, the way that they operate, if someone believes that they can change, then they're more likely to take accountability and take responsibility for something. If they don't think they can change, then they're afraid that taking accountability and taking responsibility will make it look like they are flawed. So I thought that was very interesting. Ties into the thought that we were talking about last week with Daniel on the birthday show about if people think they can do anything, if they believe that they can do anything, then they can do anything. So if people believe that they can change, then they're more likely to take responsibility and take accountability for when things go wrong. And the key of personal responsibility and accountability is that if there is something wrong, you improve on it. So I thought that was interesting because we had that mindset discussion last week about the mindset, the belief that I can do anything versus I can only do this, or this is all I can do. It's kind of the same thing here. If you believe that you can change, then you will change and you will take responsibility and you will improve upon your action. But if you don't believe you can change, then you're going to keep burying things. You're going to keep blaming other people. You're going to keep passing the buck, and you're never going to improve. Your career's never going to grow. You're going to stay in the same place that you always are, because if you can't change, how can you move up?
Very true.
So I thought that those three things really stuck out to me as we were preparing for this show, and I wanted to share those with everybody. So before I got lots of lists. I got a list of qualities and characteristics of someone who has a sense of personal responsibility. I got examples of personal responsibility at work. I got examples of individual personal responsibility outside of work. And then I got benefits of those who practice personal responsibility. Before I get into my list, I thought we might want to let Alonzo share. Once I get into my list, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, you know what? I think, Chris, we got a lot of parallels, and, we visualize a Venn diagram. There will be a lot of overlap. So,
oh, yeah.
And we've been going and really getting into about personal responsibility. And I believe it's like Mike had said as well, it is both a personal and a business perspective on you exercising that every day. Both of them interact with each other. Both of them play a part in how you conduct yourself on both a personal and business level. So I put together some notes of my own. You all bear with me. I think these are going to be a lot of great, interesting points about personal responsibility. And we can play and overlap with Chris about what it is and what it means to us. So I think there's like 6 bullet points that I have in mind. One is responsibility. 2 are goals. 3 is achievement. 4 is positive inner self-learning. 5 is self-control. And 6 is self-improvement. Now, we're going to go and go through another definition of personal responsibility. And it's about the level of commitment one is willing to make in setting and achieving clear goals for themselves. And it's also a crucial skill for any successful employee. So in the business world, we think about responsibility. We talk about what Chris and Mike has mentioned about taking credit for success, but we also need to take responsibility for our failures. Taking that credit always feels good, but who is it feeling good for? Is it going to be something that you absorb for yourself, or you're going to take responsibility that it wasn't just you, it was a team effort, no matter how small, and be able to celebrate as a team, as a cohesive unit, instead of taking on all that credit. Mike also had a great example about how someone who did not have integrity or personal responsibility took advantage of the efforts that Mike did by closing a very lucrative deal for himself. Unfortunately, he got caught and he had to pay the price for that situation. So that goes back to learning from that mistake, which I'm hoping that he did, to be able to say, okay, we should have celebrated a success, or I should have celebrated Mike's success instead of taking it for my own. Now the failure is that I got caught in a lie. I deceived leadership about what I could do and what I did. That's the personal responsibility, overlap, accountability that he probably would have to learn for himself. I'm wondering what was going on in his mind, as I can assume, once everything hit the fan, if you will. So what was that takeaway for him, and how is he going to learn to be a better person? Is he going to adversely and subvertively blame Mike because, Mike was a better salesman, had integrity, had sales skills and acumen that he didn't have? Or is he going to learn from that and try to grow to be a better professional? That's a part of the personal responsibility that a professional needs to adhere to. The next is about goal setting. So once you have the goal setting, it's the ability to identify those clear objectives and come up with plans and dates for reaching them. So say, for instance, you are a student, you're starting, even if you still, and you've been here for a while, or you're concluding the course, you're constantly setting goals for yourself with the self-paced course. You're talking about, okay, well, I want to get from point A to point B for this week and that week and following and so forth, so I can create these milestones for myself and be able to ultimately complete the course, understand what it takes for business acumen, the tech, presentation skills, CXO relevancy, and a plethora of other things that a successful cloud architect needs to have. So you have to think about all these things by writing them down, thinking about what your goals are, how you can achieve them, and being able to hold yourself accountable for every day, every week, every month until you realize your goals. And understanding those goals, they should be reasonable, they should be specific, they should be meaningful, they should be measurable, and they ultimately should have a deadline. Because like I learned early on when I started taking and clearing AWS exams and other exams, if you don't set a specific time when you're going to take that exam, you're going to keep studying to study and study to study to study, and you never will hold yourself accountable to say, I need to have this level of competency to take this exam so that I can clear it. So you have to use those bullet points to realize your goals and be able to hold yourself accountable throughout the process. So I think the next portion would be like, say, for instance, achievement, if you will, that drive, that desire, that effort and commitment to make your goals real. And are you willing to put in those extra hours? Are you willing to do a little bit more about learning about those facets of being a successful cloud architect or engineer that you might be weak on? Are you willing to put in and burn the midnight oil so that you can be strong in those competencies that maybe you might struggle a little bit with? What about those sales techniques? Maybe you don't feel exactly comfortable speaking with a group of people who make in excess of maybe 10 figures collectively in a room, and you're going to have to speak to them, convince them about the benefits of your architecture, and ultimately sell them to these people who have probably heard it before, been there and done that, but having the ability to say, I can achieve, and being able to have that drive and put forth that commitment to make yourself successful, to bring home that presentation and ultimately sell that solution. So one of the things that I learned, and I continue to learn because we're always growing, don't do just enough. Do not get to the point, or rather think that by the time you measure to a certain specific goal that it's going to be enough. You can't, 100% nowadays is not enough. 100% is the standard. okay, for anything of excellence, whether especially as a cloud architect. You have to bring forth 100% of your effort, but now you have to push yourself even harder because you got to be better than the next person. You got to be better than the next cloud architect, better than the next engineer, or at least collectively grow so that iron sharpens iron and you guys can grow together so that you can achieve greater heights. You can be known and branded of your, for yourself within the organization and the industry as a cloud leader or as a thought leader like Mike. Because like you said before, Mike talks about he spent a tremendous amount of time learning to be a CCIE. We just had a conversation. What was that earlier on yesterday, Mike? Where we
had yesterday when I showed you the CCIE reading list.
Exactly. It looked like its own library. And I kid you not, if we had an opportunity to show that picture,
I got a picture that I'll show. What's a normal CCIE reading list? Let's do that.
Yes,
because,
please.
And this is what I mean when I say depth of knowledge versus the 10x.
I'm going to preface this by saying this is a rabbit hole. We're just going to circle around the edge of the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're trimming the edge of it. We're not going to get deep. However, they got to see that picture. Gotta.
Yeah, this is what I'm sharing now is a normal CCIE reading list.
Yeah. And that's not even the whole picture either.
No, this is just routing and switching. This doesn't. Yeah. This isn't voice for the most part in wireless, and this has only to do with routing and switching, just basic routing and switching. This is a pretty normal reading list.
Exactly. So
this is only 20% of networking.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between a real expert versus a 10x. Hey, I know a little of these 30 different careers.
Yeah. So you think about achievement. So put that in perspective about what's important, how you're going to achieve your goals. Are you willing to put in those hours to become successful? You got to have that drive. You got to have that commitment. You got to know that just doing just enough is not going to be good enough. So focus on that. But also outside of the achievement, you need to focus on your positive inner self. Understand that behavior is a reflection of what you think. If you're thinking negatively, it will show up in your performance. It'll show up in your transactions. It'll show up in your work. It'll show up in how you perceive yourself and others in your environment, whether it be work or in personal life. So you got to realize that you are in control of your behavior. You have the power to command your thoughts. If you're having a bad day, if you drop some eggs, turn it into an omelet. If the lemons are there, turn it into lemonade. And if you're having personal problems, find a way to be able to either you can have that opportunity to share it with someone that you trust within your work environment, like an open door policy with your superior or your team lead, or be able to find a way to compartmentalize that and be able to say, okay, I'm at work now. Let me get through the day, perform my best because I'm in a team environment and people are relying on me. Then I can pick this up after work so that I can deal with my problems in a positive way. So understand that how you perceive yourself, how do you think of yourself? How are you handling your problems? Is it going to be positive or it's negative? And understand that what you think will manifest in how you treat yourself, do your job, treat others, and how you overall commit to action throughout your day. So it's just important to know also that with that being said, you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. And for me, like everyone else, I know I am my own worst critic. I can't do anything right. It's not going to be good enough. I need to do this. If I have to go from A to Z, I'll ask myself, well, what about double A? Did you go through double A to double Z, triple A to triple Z? It'll never be enough because I'm always my worst critic. I'm always feeling like I can push myself to the next level. So you have to not be your own worst critic, but rather be a constructive critic on how you can continue to improve upon the wonderful person that you are. Realize that you have goals. Realize that you have met goals. You've been successful. And if you haven't been successful, then you are now more experienced to be successful in the long run. So understand, don't beat yourself up. If you missed a day or you didn't do well in the course or you didn't pass the exam this time, realize that it's a learning experience, convert that into positive energy, and be able to take the next steps moving forward. So a great way also to silence that negative critic is once you start talking negatively about yourself, I can't, I don't, I won't, or even worse, they didn't do this, or only reason why I didn't get the job was because of someone else. Don't do that. That's victim mentality. You are not a victim. You are in control of how you behave because of your thoughts. Your thoughts start there. So the victim mentality is not successful for you. It will not brand you well. And ultimately, you will be what they call, the trending word is toxic in the office. So how you conduct yourself and based on how you treat yourself and how you're able to visualize the positivity in your life should reflect in your overall performance, interactions with your teammates, and overall work ethic and work quality. So having that thought process is very important, and knowing when you talk bad about yourself, try to stop it. This is not positive. When I say I can, I won't, hold on. Stop that. It's not that I can't or I won't. I just don't know how yet. How am I going to remedy that situation? I flunked the exam, or I don't get these concepts. I don't know the difference between block storage or object storage. I don't know the difference between SQL and NoSQL. I can't get it right. Or a lot of us can be honest and say, okay, the IP addressing, I can't get that. Don't say that. You don't know how to do it yet. Put in the work, ask for help, stay focused about what you know how to do, and being able to be honest with yourself to move forward is what's important. So stop being your own worst critic. Stop yourself when you're starting to be negative about yourself or about your teammates or environment, and learn ways to think about how that negative situation can be enhanced to a positive situation later on down the line. So that falls into self-control. Now, understanding that self-control is the ability to control your own personal feelings with emotions in difficult situations. Say, for instance, your performance isn't doing all that. You're not performing the way you should. Maybe you're showing up late. Maybe you're missing a lot of key things in work, and you're having something going on in your life, or whatever the case is. And it goes right back to saying about responsibility. It's about, if you're having these issues that unfortunately are spilling into your work performance, you can be two people, accept responsibility and say, you know what, let me go and have a one-on-one with my manager. Let me have a one-on-one with my team. I'm having some personal issues. I apologize that this is affecting my performance and overall ability to do the best work as a team. I'm going to rectify the problem. That creates many opportunities for them to your teammate to offer assistance, for you to be able to feel better about the situation, be ultimately able to, I would say, be able to let it go and let go of that inner pressure of you having these issues about yourself or about your personal situation. Or, as I mentioned before, you blame the world, you're a victim, you don't have any control of your life, you're just sitting there riding the storm, and you feel like you're up a creek without a paddle. That's the negative thinking that I specifically talked about before. Think about your thoughts, control your thoughts, convert them into positivity, and let that exemplify in all your efforts. So that's very important. And it also leads to my next bullet point, which is self-improvement, and also talks a little bit, which I won't get too much about with what Chris mentioned, is about change. Can you embrace change? Are you that person that can adapt to a new situation? Are they willing to learn? Are they willing to swallow that hard pill and say, which a lot of people are afraid of, I was wrong? Are you able to move forward from that seemingly debilitating statement and be able to say, moving on, I want to be better. How can I be better? So the willingness to change leads to self-improvement, and you're able to do that through a SWOT analysis, if you will, and that's with strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. When it comes to your strengths, what are they? Write them down. What are your quote unquote weaknesses, or what I like to call challenges? Write them down. What are your opportunities for increased success, not only for yourself, but for your team? Write those down. And if there's any threats to those opportunities or to your strengths that could take them, take away and further increase your weaknesses, you need to identify them, whether it be a person, whether it be a situation, or anything that's affecting your life. Deal with that so that you can convert that time worrying into things that'll be more positive for your personal life as well as your professional life. So with that being said, I wanted to put those things together, but I also have this book that I really love. It's called Your First 90 Days. And it talks about proven strategies for getting to up to speed for your first job, faster, stronger, smarter, all those good things. So I love to read when I have the time, but it's very important by you taking in the knowledge that we have for you, finding out resources that we're going to be sharing later on down the line, how you can be improved, how you can be not only improving of yourself, you can improve yourself, but you can also improve the area, the environment, the team, and overall business for which you work. So wanted to share that, guys. Back to you, Chris and Mike.
I want to touch on one thing Chris said is the change thing, which you also highlighted. If people don't think they can change, they're going to be, yeah, it's everybody else's fault other than mine.
Right.
But when we realize that everything that we do, good or bad, we have an impact on it.
Absolutely.
And we can change. It's not such a big deal to say I messed up. It really isn't.
No.
I messed up and here's what I learned from it, and here's why I won't do it again in the future. Most people like that. But the key is we change. But we've got to be able to understand that we can change. And we've got to take responsibilities for when we mess up.
Very much.
If not, I went on an interview many years ago, and it was me and my buddy we both interviewed. I had no idea. And we interviewed for the same job. Again, I had no idea. He met with the manager and said, and I met with the manager. I got the job. He did not. I didn't even know we were interviewing. And he says, I interviewed with this person. And he hated me because I was Jewish. And he said, this guy doesn't like Jewish people. That's why he didn't hire me. And I said, he hired me and I'm Jewish. And it was interesting the way we both took the two different things. I knew the guy. I knew why he didn't get hired. He had a horrible attitude. Horrible. He had a good heart, but he always would find an excuse to blame everybody else other than himself. Me personally, I'm the first person to take the responsibility for my action. The guy trusted me. It had nothing to do with what the person was trying to solve. It was the key is this person wanted to blame it on everything. And I was like, look, if you don't hire me, it's because I'm not good enough. I'll be better next time. And you're going to hire me next time. But it's interesting the way we can all look for other excuses.
Yeah, I just had a random thought that popped in my head. It's as simple as the difference between you didn't tell me and I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
It's just it all goes back to a mindset, not just the mindset of I can change, but the mindset of I can grow.
Yes.
The mindset of, like we said last week, I can do anything. What do you want to do? You can do whatever you want. Whatever you want to do. And like Alonzo said, are you willing to do what you want to do? And making sure that you work within whatever limitations might not be the word, but making sure that you know your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and how to navigate those to reach your goal. Because you can reach any goal.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah, here goes my lights again.
I remember being on a project many years ago, and it was me and somebody else. And we were competing to get the better solution, which would have come into something else, like a promotion, etc. So we are competing on something. And when we had the two things done, we were given the most cryptic information whatsoever. And somewhere along the line, the guy says to me, hey, Mike, it's all cryptic information. how you doing this? And I didn't say anything. And I was like, well, I called the guy 26 times and asked for to uncryptify the information. He made assumptions. Assumptions didn't work. But it was the point being is he didn't feel like he was given enough information. I knew I didn't have what I needed, so I figured I was going to go get what I needed. I knew that it was my fault to not ask the questions. He thought it was the other person's fault for not giving him the right information.
Exactly. I'm responsible for everything
Right.
that happens to me, to at least some degree.
Yes.
I may not be the primary responsible party if I got T-boned in an intersection by somebody that ran a red light, but there's a small degree of responsibility that I could have done a little bit more. You know, there's something more that I could have done. I don't need to worry about the other individual. I already know they ran the red light. But I'm using that as an extreme example. But again, it goes back to introspection versus blaming everybody else or worrying about everyone else. I can't worry about everybody else.
No.
Yeah.
If I try to worry about everybody else, I'm
crazy.
I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
I'm going to be miserable because I can't control anyone else. I can only control myself.
Very much so.
And you talked about that, Alonzo. You have control over what you think, how you act, how you respond to things. I'm in complete control of that. Right. I may not practice that control all the time.
It's always a work in progress, a lifelong one at that.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm glad that you and I both kind of hit on the same thing. And mine, I just literally just lifted a quote from an article that I found about change. But at the end of the day, it boils down to believing that you can do something, whatever that something is. So I preparing for this, I thought about ways to practice personal responsibility, and because we talk about where people are always asking the big questions. Like when we have a discussion about ethics, people go straight to what if your boss tells you to do something unethical? Well, whose measurement are we talking about here? Yeah. But we need to think about the little things when it comes to personal responsibility. You set your alarm clock for 7 o'clock. Are you getting up at 7 o'clock? Are you getting up at 7:05? Are you getting up at 7:10? If your alarm clock is set for 7 and you said that you're going to get up at 7 o'clock, get up at 7 o'clock. Because if you don't get up at 7 o'clock, it's going to make it it'll make it just a little bit easier to not do the next thing.
Yeah.
You know,
very true.
If you don't get up when you say you're going to get up to be prepared for the day, then, you know, later on during the day, I'll be a little late for a meeting. Yeah. It's not going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh, I was supposed to have this done today. I'll just come up with some excuse. It's okay. Yeah. Nobody will care. I'll just come up with something. They'll believe me.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I thought about that last night because I was setting my alarm clock. And I was like,
tempting to add on that snooze button.
It just hit me. I'm like, personal responsibility. I set my alarm clock for 6:40 a.m. I'm usually awake before 6:40, but 6:40 is like that's my last, like, I have to be up at that point. If I'm not gonna have enough time to be prepared.
Let's bring this back to impact on people's careers and salaries and promotions and layoffs.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like even these little things.
Yeah. Let's tie it back. Things don't often happen. Like things don't happen immediately in life.
No.
So it's not like, you know, I decided to trip over my cat because she's behind my feet and she screamed, and then I feel panicked. You know, that's instant. You know, you stub your toe and it hurts. But the reality is a lot of things in life are not. So I want you guys to think about this from the manager perspective. I got a person that gives me some nonsense excuse why they can't do something today. A month later, they make up some other BS excuse. Now I've got another employee. Everything's on time. Everything's on budget. Everything's perfection. Now there's a layoff coming. Who's getting laid off 9 months from now? The person that I don't trust or the person that over-delivered?
Well, let's make that a more realistic example. The person doesn't get everything in on time. The person doesn't get everything done right, but the person communicates that they can't get this done because of XYZ, and they
fine.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, those are two extremes, but the more realistic approach is that here's someone that tells you 3 days ahead that they won't have it done on time, and they tell you exactly why ahead of time.
Yeah.
They're not going to have it done, versus the person that doesn't get it in on time, tells you the day after it's due why they didn't get it turned in on time. That's what happens.
And
every
they blame
day.
someone else for the reason why it's late.
Exactly. Now, but think about the managers. At the end of the year, you got a pool of money to go give you raises. Who are you giving your raises to? The person that lied to you, gave you silly excuses, or the person that was a rock star?
Yep.
And then people say there's pay disparity. Of course there's pay disparity. Because these things like personal responsibility and integrity and follow through and ethics and honor, they make a big difference. Because if you trust your employee, you'll keep them, you'll promote them, you'll pay them more. If you don't trust them, you don't give them any of the good work. If you don't give them any of the good work, they're not going to be seen doing anything. The CEO's not going to notice them, and they're going to be relegated to the low positions forever. It all goes to this is a key component. Can't hire what you don't trust. You can't promote what you don't trust, and you don't give the good work to somebody you don't trust. And when it comes time to lay off in a recession, that's who goes.
Yeah, it definitely spans into those three. Although we're talking about personal responsibility, it's the triumvirate for me: the accountability, the responsibility, and the integrity. And having those three, it's kind of like 3 in 1 or 1 in all. You got to have all three, and not one of them can be missing for you to not be successful and ultimately cause problems for yourself as a professional.
And it's not just professional; it's personal too.
As well.
Yeah,
True.
exactly. It's personal. This is a key to a successful life, not just a career, but just a successful life. It's not the only key, but it's key. I like that somebody put a comment here in the YouTube chat that I really liked. Where do I go? Okay, here we go. Gear ZNet. So I've been waking up 5 a.m. Blah blah blah. When I honor my commitments, I have more energy to keep doing the right thing.
Yes.
See that it's as simple as that. The honoring your commitments is essentially positive reinforcement.
Right.
In your brain realizes that it's positive, that it's good, and you are telling yourself that you did good. You may not realize you're telling yourself you did good, but you're telling yourself, yeah, I did it. I got it done. All right, good job. And it makes you feel better. It makes you feel good. And then you do the next one, and it compounds on itself. But if you don't do it, you don't feel as good.
Yep.
And it makes it easier to not do it again. And then you start blaming things and all that stuff.
Yeah, you think about Pareto's law, Pareto's rule. It's 80% of the problem. What is it? The 20-80 rule, Mike?
Yeah. And it goes, and I'll get there for you. Since so 20% of the people do 80% of the work.
Yes,
that's part of it. But here's the other thing: what most unsuccessful people do is this: they spend 80% of their time in the things that are irrelevant to them, and 20% of the time the things that are relevant. Imagine a business wastes 80% of its resources on nonsense and only 20% good. Oh, wait, do we see that in tech? I want to be an architect, so I'm going to study DevOps, SysOps, and coding. All irrelevant garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a software developer, it's critical to your job. But it's no different than I want to be an architect, so I'm going to learn how to be an airline pilot and a lawyer. It's irrelevant garbage to our career. It's relevant to something else, but it's the same thing. Focus on what matters. Just remove everything else, and that's the trait. How do you get a project done? You remove all distractions. How do you win a war? You figure out what you can do better than your opponent and win. You fight stronger, fight better with a better team. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, and I believe Ben Franklin, this is his quote: "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." And I think that 80-20 rule goes right. Like case in point for me, I have to get up. I get up early in the morning. I go to the gym. I work out. I get home long and early enough so I can get my son up, ready for school, get him prepped, breakfast and everything else, and start my day. If I compromise on my disciplinary time frame of getting up at a certain time, it pushes everything back. Those small issues become very large. Next thing you know, I'm behind on my productivity, my work. I'm tired. I've reduced my ability to feel good about myself because I compromised on my disciplinary standards to do this on a daily basis. So it all ties in.
It all does.
Yeah. So I think what Alonzo and I are saying is wake up when you set your alarm.
Wake up. It will, though, that snooze will cost you, and it is costing early on in my career, and I can admit
Oh,
in
yeah.
my youth, I've made some very, very silly mistakes.
I mean, I can look back and I remember when I used to wake up at the absolute latest possible
The absolute
opportunity.
latest.
And the crazy thing, I did that when I had a 55-minute drive to work.
Yeah.
What in the world could go wrong?
Excellent.
Oh my
Everything
God.
went wrong. And it's funny because I did that this is my early days when I first started, and I was not as focused as I should have been. And I hung out that night before so I can go to work the next day. I hit that snooze button so many times, I exceeded the limit for which it kept reminding me to get up. Next thing I know, I received a phone call, and I'm so sleepy, and it's my boss call. She said, "Alonzo," and I'm too sleepy to realize, "Hello, who is this?" "Alonzo, this is your boss. Where are you?" That is the worst feeling in the world of dread, that sense of urgency, knowing that you missed out, you screwed up, and that now you have to be held accountable for something you should not have done because you didn't have the personal responsibility to see it through. So that was definitely one of my lessons learned in my youth.
Yeah.
But looking back, and we're joking about it, but looking back, that the fact that I would wake up as late as possible,
Yeah.
and it was the entire mindset that I had back then.
Yeah.
Was just in time, just good enough, just XYZ. And I wondered why I couldn't get anywhere, like why I didn't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I didn't like the work that I was doing. I was miserable. I hated it. So that's, looking back, that's why I was doing that. Then I got in a job that I was passionate about, and it, completely changed. But looking back, if I had attempted to do what was right with that job that I didn't like, maybe I would have figured it out a lot sooner that that's actually why why I was maybe I would have figured out a lot sooner that I didn't like the job I was doing.
Right. And if you focus more on your positivity, on what your capabilities are, you focus on what it takes to achieve your goals, and ultimately in our positions when we did have a job that we didn't like and we weren't prepared to move forward, it cost us. And then it goes right back to Mike talks about opportunity costs, guys.
Exactly. So, I look back and I think if I had been doing it the right way, if I had been accountable, if I had been responsible, if I had been professional, if I had done all the right things that I know that I should be doing, I would not have wasted 2 years of my life and professional career in a role that I did not like. I would have figured out a lot sooner. All right, I got to move on from this. But so I'd like to ask you guys, can I go through one of my lists here?
I'm waiting on you, man. Let's do it.
All right. So I've got 4 lists. I'm a list kind of guy. I'm a data
Wait a
guy.
minute. You got to put yourself front and center, Chris.
Oh gosh. All right. Okay. So I'll put myself front and center. Oh, that's Alonzo. Okay. There we go. All right. So let me change the. Okay, so here we go. This list is from. Oh boy. Okay, I thought I was gonna sneeze. I may still sneeze in a second. We'll find out.
Oh, we
All
all
right,
have
so
the
this-
cat people
this
around
list
here.
Dude, what?
We all have cats, and we're probably all allergic to them.
Oh, I know. I'm at my. Never mind. Not gonna go there. I'm at my office and I still find cat flies everywhere. She's never been up here. But so this is from an article, and I'll share the link in the description after we get through, because this was a really good article. So in this article, they provided a list of the 8 qualities and characteristics of someone who has a sense of personal responsibility. And I'd be intrigued to see how many people recognize some of these things that come out of Mike's mouth. So we have good communication, ability to create boundaries for yourself, not overcommitting, knowing your limits, humility, ability to control emotions and feelings, courage to own up to situations, persistence, be your authentic self, and be organized. So those are 8 qualities and characteristics of someone who has a sense of personal responsibility. And I'm pretty sure I've heard Mike mention on more than one occasion at least half of those.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. So, which one of those stands out to you? To you guys? I'm not going to repeat them. I'm assuming
All of
something.
them, to be honest.
I'm assuming something stuck out when I read it out. Well, what'd you hear? What do you remember hearing?
Go to you first, Alonzo.
Oh. Well, you know what? I need to hear him again. I'm going to be
All right.
honest. This is the
You didn't know there was going to be a test. Okay.
I need to hear him again.
All right. Okay. So now, knowing that I'm going to ask you which one sticks out to you, I want y'all to listen to the list.
Okay.
Again. All right. So 8 characteristics and qualities of someone with personal responsibility: good communication, ability to create boundaries and know your limitations, humility, ability to control emotions and feelings, courage, persistence, be your authentic self, and be organized.
I'm between courage and humility.
Okay.
I think having the courage to step outside your boundaries, to push yourself, having the courage to fail, to be willing to say, I don't know how, but I'm going to give it a try. And if I fail in it, then at least I've learned something, because there's nothing worse than letting an opportunity go by because of fear. Humility, I believe in ensuring that it's less about me and more about someone else. I love to help people. I love to be able to see the smile on someone's face when they say I've done something that was a blessing to them, or something that was pivotal in their learning, opportunities, or education. And having that responsibility through humility to realize what position I'm in, and to be able to provide a continual value add with humility, to understand that I don't have to be here. Who am I that people are willing to listen to me because they can listen to anyone else, and be able to realize what position I'm in to help people move forward. What about you, Mike?
I'm going to go to 2 of them, actually. Communication skills, and then the ability to control your emotions.
How did I know those were the ones you were
I
going
already
to
knew.
How did I know
I
that? How did I know
knew.
that?
And admittedly, I have spent more than a quarter of a century studying both of these 2 extreme ends, more than people would actually know. So, communication skills, let's face it. For the technology people, You think that tech is the most important thing? You're all wrong. It's your communication skills, and here's the reason. If you can't get your requirements and you don't want to know what somebody wants, I promise you everything you're going to do is going to be wrong. So there is nothing good without good communication skills. Nothing. Communication skills build relationships. Communication skills get your needs met. Communication skills help your customers know why your things are going to help them. Communication skills get you hired. Communication skills get you out of the doghouse when you did something silly and your wife is angry at you. Communication skills just matter for everything. Even my cat communicates in a way when she wants me to do something. She kisses me, taps me on the face, and then she walks me to wherever she wants. And then she'll place her raids by doing this on the door just to know. Communication skills matter for everything. Now, when she first got here, I didn't know what that meant. And, she was a little frustrated until we figured it out. But communication skills. Now, emotional control. Now, admittedly, this has been a lifelong pursuit for me. Started martial arts at a young age. If you're going to train a martial artist, you better teach them how to control their emotions. I can tell you this right now. When you make someone lethal and you train them to kill, if they can't control their emotions, they'll become killers. Yeah. So admittedly, I started learning how to control my emotions at a very young age. It was part of martial arts training. I then practiced yoga. I did yoga for 16 years. The highest echelon of yoga instructors, the RYT 500 hours, I'm one of them because I've done that. I've read at least 300 books on psychology, sociology, etc. with regards to communication skills. I've studied cognitive behavior therapy, meditation techniques, and everything else. And if you can control your emotions and manage other people's emotions, that's your career. I'm going to tell you right now that on average paying careers, where the average person earns like $60,000 a year, they get a $30,000 bonus from learning their emotional intelligence, which is the ability to control their emotions and somebody else's. In tech, it could be a $100,000 difference in your annual salary. But it's not just that. I was in a taxi in Panama and someone tried to kidnap and ransom thing on me. I talked myself out of it just by being able to control my emotions and managing theirs and letting them know that I was not their target. Very simple and easy to do because I was in control of my emotions. I've had people design things for a customer that didn't work. And I went there to repair the relationship by being able to emotionally intelligent, listen to the customer, find out their problem, figure out what was wrong, and then communicate it back to them in an empathetic manner, which is controlling your emotions. I took bad relationships and filled them, fixed them, and got new business out of things that were bad. I've even told customers that my solution was not even the right one, that my competitors were better, and they still bought it from me because they trusted me so much, and they said, I'd rather something that's 90% as good with you behind it. And that comes from one thing, letting people know that they're there. Controlling your emotions. I see Al's over there. Al's muscular as can be. He's a Marine. Imagine training someone to be as good and capable, as strong as Al, and not teach him how to control his emotions. Not a good situation. And when you interact with Al, you're going to notice it's the most pleasurable thing in your life because he's always in control. So when you deal with people with high levels of emotional intelligence, which is the ability to control your emotions and somebody else's emotions, you like them, you work with them, you trust them, and good stuff happens.
Cool. I like that. One of the things I learned in martial arts is, quite honestly and bluntly, you can test, the true test of your ability to control your emotions is when you take a punch to the face.
Yep.
And that was the first lesson my instructor told me, is that it's not so much how hard you can hit, but your ability to handle a punch yourself. And that's figuratively and physically and emotionally, spiritually across the board. 10% of what happens to you versus 90% of how you react to it.
Yep.
The one that stands out to me is the and this comes from my personal experience. That's why it stands out to me. Ability to create boundaries and know your limitations. Because one of the biggest things that I don't know if everyone, I guess there'd be a certain set of people. One of the biggest obstacles that a certain group of people have is that they will overcommit themselves to anything they can. Somebody asks them, "Can you do this?" "Yeah, sure, I can do that." "Can you do this?" "Yeah, sure, I can do that." And then 15 other people ask them 15 other things that they can do, and they say, "Sure, I can do that." Yeah, something's gonna fail. something's gonna give. Something's gonna break. Something's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
And you will get to practice personal responsibility quite a lot if you do not know your limitations. So that's a problem that that I've had in the past, and occasionally as it still rears its head, is that I'll try to take on too much, by knowing your limitations, and refusing, or not refuse is a strong word, but not taking on too much, or not taking on things that you're not familiar with, or that you're not comfortable with, or that you can't dedicate the time to, turning down projects, turning down assignments if you've got the opportunity. That's a very good practice of personal responsibility. I know with a lot of people it seems negative or seems contrary to turn things down, but sometimes you have to, because it benefits both you and whoever is asking you to do XYZ. So that's the one that stands out to me, and you don't hear a lot of people talk about it. At least I haven't. I can't think of someone that I've heard speak to that on a regular or consistent basis, about knowing your limitations and knowing what your capabilities are, and I don't want to say staying within your confines, because you do want to grow, but you don't want to take on too much. You don't want to overexert yourself or overcommit yourself, because it's not going to end well.
Very true.
So that's something that stuck out to me from that list, and I was glad to see it on that list so that we could talk about it. But I do want to let people know that if you've got any questions, we're definitely at the time of the show that we'll entertain questions. Otherwise, I got more list. So I know you don't want to hear my list, so ask the question.
Go for it. It's a win-win on both sides. So,
I have seen some questions pop up. So I do want to go through a quick list. It's examples of personal responsibility at work, and then we'll go to the questions, because a lot of these are self-explanatory. They're I don't want to say common sense, but it's like once you hear it, you're like, oh yeah, you're right. That's kind of like my waking up when you're supposed to thing. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. That's a good practice.
While we're at it, so when you wake up, and I used to do this every single day, but I can't with my foot injury because it takes 3 hours of physical therapy to walk down the stairs every morning. I often recommend make your bed. Like the first thing you do, just make your bed and celebrate your first victory and your first accomplishment.
Oh yeah.
First thing I recommend doing is just make your bed.
I do not understand
the book that I had as well. I should have brought that in. I have that. Remember, Commander McRaven? He had that speech about make your bed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. You saw that?
You know what?
Yeah.
I saw that where I started it. I was growing up. My uncle was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and he was like, "When you wake up, make your bed." And I was like, "Okay," because I used to go there for PT.
I never did that until I met my wife. And that was like that and the cigarettes. Those were the two things that like drove her freaking crazy. Needless to say, I don't smoke, and I now make my bed when I wake up. But I get it. I get it. It sets your mindset for the entire day.
Yeah.
You make your. It blew my mind. I don't know how else to say it other than the fact that it blew my mind. That's the simplicity of making your bed.
It gives you that
something accomplished.
Right, it's an accomplishment. So Chow and I actually had a conversation the other day. We and she has these lights, man. But we have this.
We'll call it a commercial break.
Yeah. I'm going to sit in the dark for a few minutes. But yeah, but we had this entire conversation about making sure that we start our day off the right way.
Yeah.
And gosh dang it, if I didn't put making the bed in there. So Chow, add that to the list. Make your bed.
Make your bed.
But yeah, making your bed. That's
Look at this communication skills. Yes, dear, I know you want to go outside. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Hey, Cindy.
Okay, so let's do this. Let her outside because she's communicating very effectively. She looked at me with these eyes. This means I want to go outside and catch a lizard. So I am going to go open the door for her and be right back while you guys continue to talk about this.
All right. Well, I'm going to use this opportunity to turn my lights on. Give me a second. Okay. All right. I got at least another 30 minutes of lights. Okay, good. So while we're waiting on Mike, don't forget about this this Thursday. We've got our webinar that we're going to do on how to get your first cloud job. We will do that this Thursday. I think this Thursday it is at 1:00 p.m. Eastern time. So that will be, is that 10 o'clock Pacific time and 6:00 UK time. And go to timezoneconverter.com for the rest of them. Those are the only ones I can figure out right now. But I wanted to remind everybody about that webinar that's going to be on Thursday. And then also this Friday, we're going to have a special show. We've got a interview that we're going to be presenting to you guys Friday morning. Let me see. I think I've got a link for it already.
Okay.
Let me look. It's going to be a very cool interview. If you like it, if you like NFTs, if you like blockchain, and if you like art, this is the
whole
place.
combination. Yeah.
Yeah. So
threat right there.
And if you like projects that support good causes, this is we interview the founders of a company called ICU, which is a NFT project that supports emotional. Dang it! I can't think. I'm thinking emotional intelligence.
Supports anorexia, bulimia, and other eating disorders.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Such a wonderful family. Oh my God, I spoke to them. They were so nice. I'm already introducing them to my friends. I enjoyed meeting them so much.
Awesome. I love it.
So we're gonna have that. We're gonna have that interview premiering on Friday for you guys, and then they're also going to be joining us live on September 6th. They're going to join us on Tuesday, September 6th live. So
nice.
Anyway, let me share this link with you guys in the chat box. So
that's good. And you'll see, we'll periodically bring you. We have a lot of CEOs coming in. Who knows? Some famous people coming in. We're going to try and expose you to some leaders and people that have done special things, stories of strength, stories of survival, things to really show you that you can do anything you want. That no matter how bad things seem, you can always achieve anything if you put your heart and your mind and your focus to it.
Very true.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. My cat's now outside. She's all kinds of happy. She wouldn't let me shut the door of my house. So I literally have a door that's completely open.
I hope.
On the first floor of my house, one on the second floor. So she can come in and out because she does not like closed doors.
Mike, you might end up with more pets than you want tonight.
Well, I had a giant rabbit a week ago. I was going to keep the rabbit, but the cat was not leaving it alone.
Yeah. All
right. So I got a list to get to, and then we got some questions.
Sounds good.
10 examples of personal responsibility at work. Accept responsibility for your problems. Mind blowing. Take charge of your problems.
Yes.
That's a little bit, that actually is a little bit of mind blowing there. Admit and apologize for mistakes you make.
That's a big one.
Learn and adhere to the workplace norms and rules. provide constructive feedback and suggestions to improve processes or workflows when necessary. Give your best and never give up on challenging tasks. Be honest and genuine with everyone in your workplace. If you're having trouble understanding, reach out to someone with more experience. Don't point fingers at others for your problems. Have the courage to speak up if there is a problem or an issue that needs attention. Thought that was a pretty good top 10 list.
It's a pretty great list.
I thought
Yeah.
it's pretty cool.
And don't forget, I'm gonna share a link to these articles. I'm not gonna share. I'm gonna put the link in the descriptions for these articles. So I got a couple of questions I'm gonna get to. So somebody asked me what the light thing is. So the light thing is I got a motion sensor that controls my lights, and it's on the other side of that red partition. So the light sensor the motion sensor can't see me. So that's why the lights go off every 30 minutes. The LinkedIn and Resume Workshop is part of our Cloud Architect Career Course full course, the Plus Live, because it is live content. It is also part of our Cloud Engineer Plus Live program as well. And the Tech Career Accelerator Plus Live as well. So all of our Plus Live programs, it is included. All right, so let's get to some questions here. There was one. Oh yeah, here we go. Cruz asked, "Are there any good books you recommend for communicating skills?"
What was that book that I just sent you, Mike, that was recommended to you? I should have brought that up
Okay,
as well.
so one book that I'll definitely recommend, Cruz, is Why Business People Speak Like Idiots.
Yep.
I bought it
I've got
myself
1,000
too.
books, but that book is maybe the best one you'll ever read. It talks about using simple, plain language and getting people to understand your thoughts. That's one of the best I've ever written. It was sent to me by my executive coach 25 years ago when she was mentoring me as a leadership mentor. I finished an MBA program. I was running a business council of chief information officers. I used every possible business acumen term I could in a presentation. And here's what the room looked like. When they were playing on their Blackberries, back when the Blackberries weren't even phones. And I said to my coach at the time, I said, how was that? And she says, can I send you a book? And it was the book, Why Business People Speak Like Idiots. It's changed the way I've communicated. That's why you're never going to hear me talk about Amazon Simple Storage Solution, but you will hear me say object storage.
Do you see that last question that came in, Mike?
Yes.
Is that something that Alphonse and them might be able to help with?
Potentially yes. The difference is Nigeria is not Cameroon, but I bet you our team at Cloud Heroes Africa can. So okay. Gabenga, let's bring in his question.
Yeah.
And because we're going to get you some help here.
Good.
So Gabenga, if you need to get the exam voucher, reach out to my good friend at Cloud Heroes Africa. Send a message to Cloud Heroes Africa. My very good friend Alphonse Shang is there. And he will most likely know how to do this. And if not, he definitely will. If Eddie and my team in Cameroon knows how to do that, Eddie, and you're here and not sleeping right now, let us know. But otherwise, Gabenga, what I'd say is reach out on LinkedIn to Cloud Heroes. Look up Cloud Heroes Africa. It is run by one of the finest people I've ever met in my life. His name is Alphonse Shang. You can also reach out to the Wor Fund group, which I also participate with periodically. That's run by Benjika No. That's another Cameroonian group. And both of those groups actually do a lot of work here. Me and my team do as much as we possibly can. We popped a link for you in the chat box to Cloud Heroes Africa.
Wor Fund Cloud?
Wor Fund Cloud as well, yes.
Okay.
I don't know if they have a website or just a LinkedIn page. But
they got a website. They got a website. That's why.
Okay, good. Two wonderful people, wonderful missions.
All right. So I saw that come in, so I wanted to make sure
I'm glad we addressed that.
Now,
Thank you.
in addition to the why business people speak like idiots, I don't know if it's so much communicating skills, but relationship skills. How to the Dale Carnegie book, how to win friends and influence people. Or
Yes, that's a good.
yeah, I think I said that right.
Yeah. Timeless classic.
Yes. Let's go find my next question. Okay. Okay, here we go. Cruz had another one. Is there an advantage to troubleshooting cloud versus physical equipment or bare metal?
Well, Cruz, you're going to get your best learning experience by troubleshooting physical equipment. And here's the reason why. On the cloud, they hide 80% of it from you. That's why it's a cloud. And the tools on the cloud are easier to use, but much less sophisticated. So if you learn how to do it the real way on physical equipment, you will get used to much more logs and it'll be much harder for you. And then when you can do it in the cloud with the hard way, when you get to the cloud, it's going to be like clicking 3 buttons. The reason people like the cloud is it's so simple. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's so simple compared to what networking is or the traditional data center. The companies are willing to pay a lot more for their tech in the cloud because it's more expensive when you're paying for it. For overall lower cost, because you don't need to have 50 Mike Gibbs CCIEs working in your department. And that gets expensive. So we go to the cloud because of the agility, the speed, the performance, and the simplicity. So learn on real hardware first, Cruz. And here's also the reality. If all you know is the cloud, nobody's going to have any desire to hire you. You have to know the traditional environment, because what do we do in the cloud? At least we architects, we move the stuff from the regular environment to the cloud. So we need to know the regular environment at least as much as the cloud.
Yeah.
And then turn your bare metal server and equipment into a real cloud, and then troubleshoot that cloud too, not just your VPC. Troubleshoot a whole cloud. All my students build the cloud. Last weekend, I know Tracy was building one, Abigail and Eva Dyke. They were all building clouds. I heard them. They were having a great time. That makes me happy. That's how they become great, by building clouds. So troubleshoot the own cloud that you build, not something simple in AWS. It's a good question, though.
All right, let's see. Here we go. This is a good one.
Oh man.
Okay, so
Noah asked, how do you guys strike balance in your lives?
Okay, no, I'm going to tell you one thing. I don't understand balance at all. And I have a video coming out on work-life harmony versus work-life balance. I
like that word. That's a better definition of what we need. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick summary and then I'll have a video for you. Work-life balance is impossible. And here's why it's impossible. Your employer wants you to do more. And work-life balance is based on the assumption that you hate everything about your job. So you're going to go do your job, which you hate, and then you're going to go enjoy your evening, and you're going to try and strike a balance between that. Here's the problem. It's never going to work. And here's why it won't work. The top performers get promoted. The people that are worried about balance get laid off. So that's not possible. Now, Noah, what is possible is something called work-life harmony. I used to practice internal medicine, Noah. When I got home at the end of the day, I was dead. I mean, I'd play with tech because it was cool, but, I didn't want to do anything. I was dead. Why? Because it was hard, and I didn't love it. I went to school for 7 years and then gave it up overnight. And within a year, I was working as a lead architect at the world's largest ISP. Now, once I started working as an architect, Noah, I never worked again. I've never worked. People pay me to play with technology. They pay me to talk about technology. They paid me to teach technology. They paid me to help people get hired. I don't work. I get paid to do the things that I love. So if I put in 10, 12 hours a day, I'm not working. I'm having a great time. So I'm not saying everybody needs to do 10, 12 hours a day, but no, if you do what you love, it's not work. Yeah. I'm sure you've got a passion that you do when you're tired. It's not work. Whether when I was younger and I was doing these 700-pound deadlifts because I like powerlifting, my friends would be like, "What, are you crazy? It's heavy. It's work." And I'm like, no, this is fun. If fun, 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 fun. And I'd get home from the gym and I might not be able to move or get off the sofa other than eat, and then go back and lay down. But it wasn't work for me. So no, at least for me, I try to find things that I love. And I try and make sure that I'm real good at them. And I try and make sure that when I can do them in a way to make other people's careers and lives better, and I just do what I love, and I don't worry about the balance. It all works itself out. At least that's for me. How about you guys?
I agree. When your life, and I have children. I have two. I have a wonderful, wonderful senior, soon to be a college. She's going to college next fall, and I have my 9-year-old son. So
Got some
right
wonderful
there,
colleges down here in the Sunshine State.
oh, we're looking at Florida A&M. So best believe, guys, we are focused. And automatically, that's chaos. If you have any young boys, he's a big question mark right there on what he's going to do and anything else. But to the point, work-life harmony is where it's at. So being able to, and it talks about getting up. This is where it starts. Getting up, once you plan your morning, you get up when you're supposed to, you do the things that you're supposed to, you prioritize your day, and you're able to handle the things that come. You're going to learn how to handle stress. You're going to learn how to be adaptive in your situation. You're going to learn how to prioritize your work and your life in a harmonious situation so that you're going to be efficient in how you handle your day. There's no day that's going to happen cookie cutter. There's always going to be something that's thrown in. Children get sick, children get hurt. My wife may need something. Anyone who's married, they understand about that notorious honey-do list. Being able to just do that, handle the stress, handle the unknown with a smile, with positivity, because A, you're able to handle it. B, if you don't know how, you're going to be able to adapt really quickly. C, you understand the stress, and if you don't understand the stress, you'll learn very quickly so that as you continue to move on repetitively in both business and professional life, you're going to understand how to adapt and condition yourself in a positive light to move forward successfully. What about you, Chris?
So I like the word harmony. I hadn't heard that before. So I'll talk about what I think of when I hear balance. When I hear balance, I think, all right, I got this, now I need this. I got this, now I gotta have this. I got this, now I gotta have this. So it's kind of like you're trying to do a balance sheet. I've done this much stuff for work. I need to balance it out with this much for home. Or I've done this much stuff at home. I need to do this much stuff for work. And so it's like when I hear balance, it's like it's just a stressful concept because you're always trying to figure out the right balance. And I love the word harmony. I hadn't heard that before when talking about this. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Because harmony is, you could have harmony with 90% one thing and 10% something else. It doesn't have to be 50-50. It doesn't have to be 60-40. As long as you're happy and you're accomplishing whatever it is that you desire in both things that you're trying to be harmonious, are the 3 things that you're trying to be, are the 4 things that you're trying. So when you think about work-life balance, is it really just 2?
Right.
It's not
an
just
equal scale. Yeah.
Not just 2 things. So I like that harmony. So how do I strike a balance in your life? So how do I strike a harmony? Because that's what I strive to do. Is I strive to have harmony, and I just never realized that that's what I strive to do. I just assumed that I had a better definition of balance, but it's harmony, and so it goes back to that quality that I pointed out that caught my attention is know your boundaries, know your limitations. If you know your boundaries and your limitations, then you can easily have harmony between your work life and everything else life. So I don't know how to. There's no science to it. There's no math to
No.
it. Now I will say, I do cut things off at certain times, and when I say cut things off, I mean I stop myself from checking it.
I'm not good at that.
There is that. Like when I wake up, I do not check anything. I have a routine that I go through before I check my things, because that's my harmony. If I try to check my things before I make my bed, make my coffee, do some contemplation, do some reading, do anything, I'm not going to have harmony or balance for the day. So that's one of the ways that I do that. You need to make time for yourself.
Definitely.
I have to make time for Mike, because Mike doesn't make time for himself. So I have to make time for Mike.
He does. He does.
We have to, and then honestly, during conversations, and this is how hard, you hear the hardest working man in show business is the hardest working man in tech. I have to ask Mike, did you eat, Mike? Did you do your yoga, Mike? Did you have your time to, we have to do this, because he will go, he's an energizer bunny. He is the energizer. He will keep going and going and going till he almost falls out the chair. So focusing on that is important. Yeah.
Angela asked a follow-up question. I'm glad this question was asked. We could actually do an entire show about this.
Yeah, and maybe we will.
Yeah. So, but
let's get that in the books.
Yeah. Angela asked, how does balance vary by person? It does. It's completely dependent on the individual.
Prioritization.
Does it represent a state of being rather than dedicating time to aspects of your life? So my balance or harmony is going to be completely different than Alonzo's. I have Alex, and I have Sunny, and then I have work. So whatever Alex and I and Sunny, the cat, need to do has to be balanced or harmonious with work. Now, Alonzo, and Angelo, I'm sure you can relate to this as well. Alonzo has wife, 17/18-year-old daughter. God, sorry. How old is your son? 9? Is that what you said? 9-year-old son.
Notorious 9.
Is there a dog? No, there's no dog. No dog.
No dog.
So those are 4 individuals, 4 unique individuals. And then Alonzo has work. And so his harmony and his balance is going to be completely different than mine, just by the nature of the factors. I got 3. He's got 4, 5. He's got 5. So, and same with Mike. Mike's going to be different. Yeah. Angela's going to be different. Eventually I'm going to have my mother in the equation, because I'm going to be responsible for my mother at some point. Like, she'll be living with us at some point. Or my wife's mother will be living with us. So then that's another factor that has to be factored into the harmony. So that's why I can't imagine trying to think of it as a balance like that. I would be off that balance beam in 5 seconds. Like that.
Yeah.
But it's really what you like. Like, if I had a code for 20 minutes a day, I mean, that would be enough for me to be out of balance.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be able to work more than 10. If I had to work 20 minutes of coding per day, that would be worse than a 16-hour day of doing architecture to me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it would make me miserable.
Yep.
And look, I remember when I got sent to Sun Microsystems to learn how to write an expect script. It was the most miserable 2 days of my life. The only thing good was the Macallan 25 and the steaks at Morton's. Other than that, it was the most worst, 2 days of my life having to learn the code. So for me, that would be that. But, on my own spare time, I went to go to Israel to train with the world's most elite martial artists in Krav Maga. And we were training 14 hours a day, every day a week for weeks. And that was rest. That was rest and recovery. I got to relax. So it's all about what you love.
Yes.
Can ask, picking up where Chris and Alonzo left off. Did you eat, Mike? Did you do your yoga? Yes, he did.
Actually, I did. I did my yoga in my 130-degree room. And when I was done doing my yoga in the 130-degree room, I spent another 90 minutes in a 160-degree room. And then after that, I was pretty all right. It's interesting. I trained with a lot of. I did some mental training with plenty of people from that were SEALs, that were Marines, for the most part, and I've lived in the tactical world my whole life. So I think that's part of the reason I've been doing torture, mental toughness training since I was a child, and believe that everybody should do some.
So I'm going to get off the balance thing because we will do an entire show about that.
Yeah, let's do a show on that.
That's harmony. I like that. All right. So Daniel asks, have any one of you dealt with imposter syndrome?
Yes.
So,
and I know the fix for it too.
Definitely.
And I'm going to surprise everybody. Mike, cover your ears. I wrote an article about this. All right.
So Daniel, I'm not normally, me, I'm a soft, cuddly, emotionally intelligent teddy bear. My response to this is not going to be that way. So I have had imposter syndrome. When I left medicine and went into tech, I had imposter syndrome. And just because I got hired and my manager told me on my interview that I was better than 2/3 of his employees, even though I never worked a day in my life, I didn't feel I was okay. Now, Daniel, I also had imposter syndrome when I was dealing with healthcare years ago as well. Now, to me, what's going on is our subconscious, the part that we're not really aware of, is always knowing on what's going on. If you don't think you know what you need to know, even by 1%, your subconscious is still chugging away. What if this? What if this? What if this? What if this? So Daniel, I'm going to tell you what I did. I read 1,000 pages a day, every day for the first 6 months of my career. And at the end of that, Daniel, all of a sudden, I felt confident and relaxed. By the way, when I started internal medicine, I did the same thing. And then when I was competent, I felt relaxed. So to me, Daniel, imposter syndrome is normally, and I'm going to give you the second side of imposter syndrome because there's a pathological side as well. Normal imposter syndrome, and 80% of the people in my experience has been, they know they need to learn more. And instead of worrying about it, make yourself better, learn something each day, and it'll go away in a couple months and you're going to feel great and you'll be better for it. So use that tool, use that fear, use that anxiety to be the best you can. That's normal. Now, where does imposter syndrome become a problem? You can have a Navy SEAL sniper that doesn't think they're good enough, and they're worried that they're not good enough. Now, when somebody is at that point and they think they're not good enough, they're going to have anxiety for no reason whatsoever. And that is the other side of it. Occasionally, you see imposter syndrome in extremely high-performing people that are at the top that worry that they're not enough. Daniel, everybody worries. When you talk to poor people, they worry about not having enough money to survive. If you ask a billionaire, they worry about people taking it away from them. Everybody has fear. Everybody has fear. And everybody has these things. So in my experience, imposter syndrome is your subconscious telling you that you're not ready and you just need to be practiced and get a little better. And I've treated hundreds of people with imposter syndrome over the years that way, and they all got better. But that's my perspective. This is not the common perspective. This is not the socially acceptable perspective. This has been my experience personally and with more people than I can possibly describe. But everybody gets imposter syndrome to some degree. So how about you guys?
Go ahead, Chris. I'll bring up the anchor.
So from my perspective, it's a bit different, but parts of the same from what Mike is talking about. So my experience and perspective on imposter syndrome, and that usually where these types of questions come from is you're comparing yourself against someone.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the likely case is that you are comparing yourself against someone that is the exact same spot as you. It usually comes up when you're in a cohort or you're in a group or you're in 100 days of code challenge or some of these group things where you're in a position with other people and you tend to think it's against other people. It's not. It's you're with other people, and you start to think that they all know more than you do when they don't. They're in the same
Yeah,
boat. They're in the same position as you. You know,
Yeah.
they may know more over here, but you know more over here. You know, so like this is my experience in it, and that's where a lot of people, at least nowadays, are experiencing imposter syndrome, is that they're comparing themselves against what they think other people in their situation should know.
Yeah.
And the thing that I have to say to that is two things. Feelings aren't facts, and facts don't care about your feelings. So that's not what Mike said is yes. If you're trying to compare yourself to people that are currently working and employed and making having a great career about it, yeah, you're not there. You're probably not there. But if you're comparing yourself against people that are in your situation and you're feeling imposter syndrome, then that's just your feelings. That's not to say that you don't need to learn, you don't need to develop, that you don't need to improve. That's just everybody needs to.
Yes, everybody needs to get better.
Right. So I say that to say that it's a feeling. Okay, got my lights back on. But a lot of the time it's a feeling. Now, again, that's not to say that you don't need to improve. You need to improve. You need to learn. You do need to grow more. You do need to do all these things. But so does everybody else that's in your same position.
Right.
Yes. And even better, I'm going to add just a touch. The people that have the imposter syndrome are going to be the most successful because they're the ones that know they need to learn more.
Yep.
And not just this. When you have imposter syndrome, you're striving to be better. So don't compare yourself to other people's LinkedIn profiles, Facebook profiles, Instagram profiles. I'm going to tell you right now.
Exactly.
Right now, I saw some guy that literally was advising a friend of mine on his career, on military transitions. And the guy never left the military himself, and he's advising other veterans on how to leave and get hired in the civilian world. He's never done it himself. There's another guy who kept wanting to be on his YouTube channel, and I don't have the time for it. He's never worked in tech, and now he's teaching AWS. He's never had any experience with tech, no knowledge about it. He took a certification, and he's doing it. Those people, they're kind of like sociopaths. They don't have imposter syndrome. They don't care what they know or don't care what they don't know, and they don't care who they hurt along the way. The people that have the imposter syndrome are generally your good people that want to be better. So don't compare yourself with anybody's LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. And the way that I look at it is, and this is me, it's only imposter syndrome if you don't get over it.
Yeah.
If you continue to stay in that mindset, if you continue to do it, if you get over it, it's not imposter syndrome. You experienced motivation.
Right.
That's what
Remember, your thoughts control your behavior. That's where
exactly. See, now we're coming full circle on this. I was just thinking that. I was like, I think Alonzo talked something about this earlier, about your thoughts control. And I made Mike cover his ears earlier, but I wrote an article about this, and I pulled it up, and I closed my article by, like I said, from my perspective, it's about feelings. People have these feelings that they're not good enough, that they're not anything. But I closed out my article by, the fact is that I will get this,
right,
as evidenced by my ability to reach out to others and learn what I need to learn. And that goes back to what Alonzo was talking about, is my thoughts control the what I experience. And if I believe that I can do it, if I know that I can do it, then that imposter syndrome is going to go away.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts control everything, Daniel. Your thoughts control your emotions, anxiety, depression, everywhere in between. Not only has this been studied, Daniel, there's a form of psychotherapy called cognitive behavior therapy that's been found to be as effective as drugs and treating depression and anxiety. Not only that, Daniel, they find that they can treat people in a matter of weeks with cognitive behavior therapy in the time frames it would take years to do with psychoanalysis. So, interestingly enough, Daniel, we actually teach cognitive behavior therapy inside of our program.
Yep.
And why do we do it? Because SEALs are using it to take a negative thought and redirect it. Olympians are using it, and I had the privilege of studying in the David Burns Clinic at University of Pennsylvania, which was Presbyterian Hospital, where I did my psych rotations, where they invented it at Penn with Albert Ellis, and then who's the other guy? David Burns, and I'm drawing blank on the guy's name right now. Aaron Beck.
So, got another question here. How do you get out of your head when communicating? My thoughts seems to go way faster than my speech. And how do we deal with anxiety?
Well, this goes back to the same kind of thing. First, we need to control our thoughts.
Mhm.
Every thought that we have creates anxiety, and there's 10 thinking errors, and they're called cognitive distortions. And I know you're my student, so please read that section and watch those things and practice it every day. There's an extremely good book that I'll recommend. It's called Feeling Good by David Burns. It's like a $6 book. It's about 30 years old, and it's based upon how to control your thoughts, and it is amazing. Now, Lamonia, there's something called box breathing or tactical breathing, which is again being used in SEAL teams. And it's also used by firefighters, police officers. And it's called tactical breathing, and it's that box breathing that I actually teach in that class. Well, I shouldn't say I teach it. I actually hired somebody. The guy's name is Todd McLaughlin. He's the best yoga instructor I've ever met. nativeyoga.com, if any of you guys want to learn the really world's greatest yoga. He's a personal friend. I've been training with him for 16 years, so he's my guruji, although he'd hate here if I called him that, because he's too down to earth for that. But yoga, meditation, pranayama breathing, box breathing, all these things can truly help you.
Putting that native yoga link in here. There we go. All right. So we got one last question. I think that this is a good opportunity to wrap it up. And I'm going to preface this by reminding everybody, this might sound a lot like our accountability session. So Angela asks, how's personal responsibility influenced by our integrity? Yeah. I'll keep it simple from my perspective. Personal responsibility is integrity to yourself. If you don't have a level of integrity with yourself, it's going to affect your personal responsibility.
How you treat others is how you treat yourself. It reflects.
That's my perspective. I've not given much thought to this, but that's how I've, in a quick response, that's my thought. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, is that because personal responsibility is my actions and how I do or don't do things. Going back to my alarm clock, if I don't have the integrity to do what I said I was going to do by getting up when I said I was going to get up, and making my bed when I said I was going to make my bed, and doing my contemplation when I said I was going to do my contemplation, then if I don't have the integrity to do all of those things, then my personal responsibility goes out the window.
Yeah, and let's remember what integrity means: the ability to do what is right, especially when no one is watching.
Right. Yeah. So
and when you're able to adhere to that specific personal ethos, everything else will fall into line about personal responsibility. I have to hold integrity. I have to toe the line. I have to adhere to this specific standard, understanding what the cost is if you don't. And that is how that's going to determine your personal responsibility. If I don't get up on time, I'm late, my kids are late, he's yelling because he's hungry, not enough time because he has to start school, it'll snowball from there because you did not do or adhere to your personal standard of integrity about what you need to do on a daily basis.
Yeah. Mike, we'll let you share your thoughts on it, and then we'll wrap up.
I think they're directly tied, because your integrity is whatever your commitments are, you've got to honor them.
Yeah.
And personal responsibility is about honoring your commitments, honoring the things you've done right, honoring the mistakes you've made. So I don't know how to separate them.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Like I was trying to separate them by saying, well, if we separate them, then it still gets back to a circular thing. I have to have
Right.
integrity to myself.
Yeah,
which
it's
is-
going back to what I was saying. It's the accountability, responsibility, and integrity.
Yeah.
You can't. It's all in one there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation,
Me too.
and
Yeah.
I liked some of the questions that we got, but
That's cool.
we definitely need to have a harmony session. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I really appreciate everybody that joined us tonight, and I need to make sure that I go through. Alonzo, can you send me that link?
I sure
Also,
can.
That way I can put it in the description,
Okay.
because I'm going to put it in the description with the articles that I referenced also.
You want me to send it via Slack or you want me to text it to you?
Slack. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so Mike, I'll let you close us out.
Tonight was a pretty fun discussion, at least for me, talking about, things that I really like. We're always in the concept of tech career coaching. In some way, we discussed emotional intelligence in tech, like I told you we would. And, these are critical tech career success factors. And that, what is personal responsibility? That's super important to me. So all these things, it's your soft skills, it's your personal responsibility, it's your execution on the things that you said you did, it's your honor. That's what makes the difference. You got one name. Somebody asked me, who's Mike Gibbs? They know. It's pretty easy. You Google somebody, you're going to find out a lot about them, If you've mistreated someone, that word's going to spread. So be good to people. Treat everybody like you'd like to be treated yourself. I think they call that the golden rule. But, that's really the key. So I hope you all had a great time tonight. I'm going to remind everybody that on Thursday, we've got our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. It's going to be a very special webinar, a little different than we normally do. What time is that going to be, Chris?
That will be at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's a special time because we want to get everybody from the coast as well as Europe. We figure at 1 p.m. we get all the U.S., all of Canada, all of South America, all of Europe, and all of Africa. Potentially some in India even as well. So it should be a good time for us to do so. On Thursday, if you haven't signed up for the free book, go do it. Go do it. And that way, when the free Google book comes out, you'll get it immediately. If you want to get your first cloud job, take advantage of the 30% off birthday discount while it lasts. I don't know how much longer it's going to be there, but take advantage of it. And join us for the resume workshop. For my students in the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, if you're part of the live one, it's free. But if you're not part of the live one, you can still attend. Just register and sign up. And if you're not part of a program and you want the recruiters to knock on your door every day and harass you and say, I need to hire you, I need to put you in front of the hiring manager, take that LinkedIn resume workshop. And then once you get that interview, it's up to your cloud architect knowledge or your cloud engineering knowledge. And then you'll get that first cloud architect or first cloud engineer job. I've enjoyed seeing all of you. Thank you all for coming. And I'll see you all coming very soon.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care. Bye, everybody.